Welcome again to Reflections on the Community and its Cultures. This time around, some mental health ideas and some ideas about children. Later on, Susan Hill will talk about the All About Kids Fair that's coming to Independence. First up, Amy Barnhart will explore the topic of first steps for mental health. That's coming up on Reflections. On this segment of Reflections, we welcome Ms. Amy Barnhart, who works at 4 County as an early childhood mental health liaison.
Correct.
What's that mean?
Well, my job basically is to go out in the community and make people aware that this program exists and what it's all about.
So you're kind of a PR link
Yes, exactly.
to 4 County.
Yes.
And 4 County, of course, is we talk every once in a while about it. We talk with a number of people from 4 County because it's one of the agencies that makes our program possible. But it always surprises me with the breadth, with the depth of what 4 County is. And I'm sure that's one of the messages that you're talking about out in the community.
Correct. Well, early childhood especially is a really booming, topic right now because early intervention and detection of delays is very important. It not only increases chances of school readiness, but also later in life it helps increase chances of high school graduation, holding a steady job, and living independently.
Indeed. And you brought your business card with you, wasn't it?
I
You
did.
brought a poster there that sort of
Yes.
talks a little bit about what we're here talking about, and that is the concept, the first steps for mental health.
Right.
And right there is her title and the whole 9 yards, including a phone number if people want to get hold of you, which is 620-926-1105, if I'm reading it correctly.
Yes.
And why the frog? Somebody said you got to have the sign because you got to talk about the frog.
Well, we just kind of wanted something that was really kid-friendly and would entice the children, to come up at booths, at parenting fairs and things like that. So we wanted something that was really, kid-friendly. So.
And then, of course, it ties in with your nifty little motto there about
Right.
first steps into a giant leap.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm not even going to try to read the fine print down in the corner there, but if it says something important, you can tell us what that is.
Oh, dedicated to screening for social and emotional delays.
Okay,
So-
and again, we're focusing on early childhood,
Correct.
early noticing,
Right.
early screening, and all that sort of stuff. How early are we talking about?
Well, the screening that I use is the Ages and Stages Social Emotional Questionnaire, and that screening starts at 3 months. So we
wow.
can start screening at 3 months, and that tool goes up to 5.5 years.
Okay, and who is it? Well, obviously it's aimed at kids from darn near 0 up through
Right.
5 to get involved in the program. But how do people? I guess how do they become aware that their kids should be screened? Let me put it that way.
Okay. Well, actually, any child could be screened. There's no income requirements or anything like that. It's all free. Just like you would screen for preschool readiness and kindergarten, like Roundup, social and emotional development is very important in early childhood. These screenings not only detect, if there could be a delay, but also what a child might be excelling at. So parents know, what they can plan activities and stuff around that, maybe to enhance their child's learning.
Okay,
And everything
so
like that.
you're not necessarily just looking for problems, but
Right.
also looking for opportunities.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And again, starting at 3 months.
Right.
What kind of screening do you do with a 3-month-old individual?
Right. Well, the parent fills out the screening, and they're
Okay.
all questions that the parent answers about, does your baby interact with you with smiles and giggles? Does your baby tense up when you hold her? Things like that. So a lot of motor development in the early ages.
Okay. And how again, you say starting at 3 months. And of course, parents of a 3-month-old kid are probably pretty good targets. I mean, at 3 months, you're still asking yourself all those questions.
Exactly.
How is my kid doing? I mean, obviously, there's not an answer.
Right.
But this is something that's probably not a hard sell.
Right.
When you have the opportunity to talk to parents.
Especially new parents, because they might not know, what's normal in child development and things like
No
that.
parent knows.
Right, exactly.
Come on, no parent knows. Believe
Exactly.
me, I've had 2 children, and neither one of them was normal. Nothing about either one of them was normal. So yeah, but that is the question that especially new parents
Right.
continue to ask. Is there anything that should trigger this, a request for a screening?
Well, if the parent has a concern, if their 1-year-old isn't walking or even crawling, that might be a concern. If their 3 or 4-year-old, isn't communicating or can't seem to regulate their emotions and throws temper tantrums a lot, that could be, a trigger.
Okay.
We have these early warning signs in our brochure. Let's see.
I'll bet that would be available too.
Yes, it is
and
available.
Give me that phone number because I can't. It's no longer on the screen.
620
Okay.
926-1105.
All right. That's how we can get in touch with you.
Yes.
And again, if somebody wants to look at some information there or just wants to talk about it,
Right.
You seem like the kind of person who's more than willing to talk.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I didn't say that right. Did I? No, that's not exactly the way I meant that to come out. So it can be extremely early, like I say, at 3 months and such, or it can be just if a parent is concerned.
Right.
I would assume that another prime time that parents get involved in thinking about this is about a year before school starts.
Correct. That's the majority of social and emotional delays aren't even identified until after a child starts school. But it's really important that parents know that it is very beneficial to find these delays early.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that for the 3-month-old, I mean, basically the parents are answering questions
Correct.
about the child. I assume that changes as the child ages.
No, the
It
parent
doesn't.
always fills out the form.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the
So-
parent is the best, they know their child better than I would just going in and meeting with their child for 5 minutes.
Okay.
So they know their child the best and they'll be able to answer those questions.
So is that the extent of the screening, or does that
Well-
then trigger some more activity?
Right. After they screen, I score it, and there's a cutoff range. And if the child scores above the cutoff, then I can refer them to our 2 therapists that are on the grant, Hans or Christine, and they can go in the home or do in-office intervention and therapy and work on some of these delays or things that they think that they need to work on with the child and the parents.
Mm-hmm.
I also do a follow-up screening at 90 days if the child did screen in. I can also refer to other agencies like Parents as Teachers, Birth to 3 if I think that those services are also needed. Go ahead.
No.
Okay, if a child does not screen in, I can still refer them to other agencies if they want, or that's it's up to them how much further they want to go with it.
And again, you mentioned funding. You mentioned a grant that
Yes.
this is operating under.
It is grant funded.
Okay. So in terms of the screening program, we're not writing big checks for this, right?
No, correct. Right, the screenings are completely free.
Okay. And then, of course, if further interventions are required, then that may get a little more
Right,
involved.
depending on what is involved. I'm not sure about past the screening and other agencies, of course, I don't know.
This is a new program for you?
Correct.
Okay. It's not, I'm assuming that it's not a new program for the rest of the world, but...
Well, I believe the grant was just given to Fort County starting
right?
June 1st.
Okay.
So,
How did you get involved? Well, let's talk about Amy Barnhart a little bit. How long have you been involved with Fort County?
well, actually, I did the Quest program the first summer after I graduated high school. Last summer, I did an internship here, and then I started full-time employment here.
So you're just
June
getting into the
16th.
big bucks now, right?
Right,
Under a
exactly.
grant program, so those
Right.
bucks are bound to be huge. Why did you get involved in this?
Well, I'm very interested. My passion is early childhood. That's what I got my degree in at Pittsburgh State University. I've always loved being around kids, and I think that, doing the Quest program has really showed me that
Yeah, the
this
Quest
is so
program is
important.
aimed at young folks and aimed at getting especially troubled young folks involved in
Right.
social type activities
Right.
and work type activities and things like that. A very involved program on
It
its
is.
own, and we've talked about it a couple times on this program, and I'm sure will be again. So that's you kind of got into it through that.
I did,
Kind
yes.
of volunteered yourself in,
Yes.
and then got on with the program here. Why is this so important? again, get back to our topic here, which is early childhood mental health. Why is it important to pay attention that early?
Well, because lots of times mental health in early childhood is overlooked. People don't consider it maybe a factor in a child's development, but it is very important because it's just a part of a whole child's development. A child can't really develop cognitively unless they have good social and emotional skills to go with it. So they all go hand in hand, and it's all very important to think about.
And your focus, again, you've mentioned the term quite often here, social/emotional.
Correct.
Are those closely tied?
They are.
Okay.
So social development would be interactions with family, having positive relationships with peers, their friends. Emotional health would be being able to identify what they're feeling, identifying emotions and knowing what to do when they're feeling those emotions, like knowing what to do when they're mad or sad.
How many folks are you working with?
On the grant?
Yeah.
There's 2 therapists,
Okay.
and then also Steve Denny is my supervisor.
Okay. And assuming that through the screening you can identify some needs,
Yes.
then how complicated does life become? I mean, that depends, I'm sure, on the individual.
Right, but my job is just to refer them on. I do keep track after 90 days. I go back and do another screening, but pretty much after that, I just refer them on and hope that the other services are able to serve them. So.
And again, I'm assuming that the reason you are lasered in on early intervention is because, as in most health situations, the earlier you identify the problem,
Exactly.
the more solvable that problem can be.
Exactly. Sometimes if you catch it early, it might not turn into something that it could have if you hadn't caught it so early.